Hey guys, it's Victim here. I play on Bigglesworth. This is WoW Classic, and I'm in a guild called Advanced Refrigeration. I am a DPS Fury Warrior, and I'm in a dual wield spec at the moment. So that's what this Tell Me When script is going to be based around. The two-handed Fury Warrior is a bit different. Uh, yeah, Tell Me When is a really good add-on for prioritizing your abilities for you. It creates a little bit of a different mentality around your cooldowns. You use more of a whack-a-mole approach with it, rather than like a cooldown watch, like a staring at your hotbar kind of thing. It's similar to a weak aura, where you can create your own scripts and sort of conditions to prioritize some abilities over others. I just find Tell Me When is a little bit easier to understand. I found it easier to create things within, and the interface just seems to me a little bit more easier to grasp, I suppose. So Twitch app is something really nice that you can use to automate your add-ons, and Tell Me When, all one word, should be in your Twitch app, and if not, you can just install it manually. One last thing that I'd like to say about the add-on before we start is that it really does raise your eyes off of your hotbar and brings them up into the middle of the screen without taking up too much real estate. So what it allows you to do is not only just focus on your rotation and simplify it, but have your eyes in a space where you can see other things going on and focus on your movement and your positioning. And being that you are a warrior and that you are not a pleb and you do have a shield in your bag, the ability to pick up targets easier, seeing laterally where they're coming from, rather than just staring at your hotbar and being static and focusing on your 1, 2, 3 and dumping heroic strikes when you can. So it's just a super good add-on for awareness and to keep you in the game, keep you in there longer, and keep other people alive. So what you're gonna do first is you're gonna type in /TMW. Okay. And once you see this menu, you should just see probably 4 boxes by themselves. You're not going to see what I have on my screen. So to get the process started, what we're going to do is you're going to right-click that first box. And when you do, you're going to end up with a menu that looks similar to this. What we need to do for every single one of these conditions that we are making today is start off at the top left corner and select condition icon. You're basically just saying, I want to make an icon that I can throw conditions inside of. Then we want to create a custom texture or an image for our icon. Otherwise, it's just going to be transparent or non-existent. So we're going to type in Bloodthirst for our first one. All right. Off to the right, you're going to have suggestions given to you. And the highlighted suggestions in blue are spells. There's 4 here, so there's 4 different ranks of Bloodthirst. Doesn't really matter which one you choose because we're just creating an icon. If you move that menu out of your way, you should now see that you have a Bloodthirst icon appearing there for you. Mine obviously is down here at the moment. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and click the Conditions tab, and this is where all the meat and potatoes lie. There's only 3 conditions for your Bloodthirst because it's a very simple... It's very simple because it is your number 1 ability, okay? All of this is saying, and for the foreseeable future in this video, you can just pause and copy paste basically what I have. Using these drop down menus, you just basically find what I have listed there and go ahead and just make it the same. How these 3 conditions work to start with, just is basically saying that Bloodthirst is equal to 0 seconds, which means that it's usable. And we have this box checked here for Bloodthirst as well. It says, don't ignore the global cooldown. So if we were ignoring the global cooldown, when Bloodthirst becomes available and all the conditions on this page are met, it's going to pop that icon for you. But if you've just used the GCD, then the icon will be there and you'll be trying to spam your Bloodthirst and it won't go until the GCD is finished. So having this box checked, make sure that this icon does not pop unless the GCD is finished and all the other conditions are obviously met at the same time. So super important to make sure that box is checked. The next condition just says the current rage of yourself, the player, is greater than or equal to 30, which is the cost of your Bloodthirst, and the fact that you're in combat as well. You just set that to true. So super simple. When you're finished with this, you can press OK. When you do press OK, it should be sitting kind of like that. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to right click that icon and you want to drag it out, let it go, and split into a new group. Once this is finished, you can move this icon anywhere around your page. You can also change the size of it as well. I typically like to have mine just below my player model. So I'm going to move that back there now. Now, as you're creating these icons, you may start noticing that you have these random empty boxes being left behind. So how you get rid of these, if you just right click the box and you can go down to group and you can just disable that group and the box is gone. So your Bloodthirst is finished and you should have it in the correct position. We'll go into the whirlwind next. So whirlwind gets a little bit more complicated because we are now starting to prioritize our Bloodthirst over all of these abilities that we're going to be incorporating into this build. So again, go ahead and click your condition icon, and then you're going to type whirlwind in here with a custom texture. There's only one rank of whirlwind, so just go ahead and select that for your image. And again, if you move your menu, it should be up here, or I think your bar is probably more central. Once you're done that, you can go into the conditions, and again, you can just pause the video and copy what I have here. Okay, so something new on this page that we need to pay attention to is I'm using brackets. So you can see how this bracket is highlighted and this bracket is highlighted. That's putting these conditions into a group. And I've done the same thing for this group down here. And between the two groups, you see an and or an or. What this essentially means is that either this group or this group, but not both, will allow that icon to pop onto your screen for you. So the first group is saying spell cooldown of the whirlwind is equal to 0. It's usable. We make sure that we're not ignoring the GCD because it does have one. And your rage is equal or greater than 50. I know that's a lot more than the cost of the ability, but we have to keep in mind that Bloodthirst is our #1. So if your whirlwind icon is going to pop on your screen for you to use, you need to make sure you're not interrupting your Bloodthirst cycle. So having 50 or more rage, being in combat, being in berserker stance, and having whirlwind off cooldown is not going to affect your BT because there's enough rage here that even if you finished your whirlwind cast for that 1 second GCD and your Bloodthirst becomes available, you'll be able to pop that Bloodthirst right away. No problem. Moving down to the second list here, this is a bit different. Your whirlwind's usable. Your current rage is 25 or higher, which is the minimum rage amount needed to use your whirlwind. So this would be like, you have it, you use it. However, the third condition here says your Bloodthirst cooldown must be equal or higher than 2 seconds. So that whirlwind's not, even if you have 25 rage, it's not going to pop unless your Bloodthirst is on cooldown for higher than 2 seconds. This just makes sure that you're going to go down to 0 rage if you do this, and you better have time for that Bloodthirst. You better have that time for that 30 rage to come back so that when your BT is off CD, it can go right back down. And then you're just in berserker stance. So after you've copied this, just make sure all the brackets are in the right places and then you've selected or, and your whirlwind conditions are complete. You press OK. You can drag it off the same way we did Bloodthirst. You can position it how you like. And yeah, we'll move on to battleship. So I love having this, outside of my rotation, this simple battle shout condition list is super great because battle shout is such a massive part of a warrior's damage, and it's such a huge benefit to their group. It should always be on GCD, always, in every fight. And a lot of times it's not, because you're not paying attention to the cooldown, or you don't know that you don't have the buff on you at that moment. So condition icon, of course, you type in battle shout there, you'd find it. I always just, if I was to type battle shout, what do I get here? Yeah, it's a whole bunch of ranks. I always just choose the bottom rank to be safe. And when that's done, you go into conditions. There's only 3. Super simple. When battle shout is available and it's usable, it does have a GCD, so we're not going to ignore that. The buff duration on the player is equal to 0 seconds, which means that it's not there, it's absent. And the current rage of the player is 10 or higher, which is the minimum amount needed for a battle shout. So this icon is just going to pop when you have enough rage and the buff is not applied to you. It's going to help you have it up at all times. All right, blood rage. Same thing, condition icon, look for blood rage, pick it out of the list. I think there's only 1 rank of that one anyways. Move into conditions, another simple one. Spell cooldown usable. Buff duration is absent, it's not on you. And you have less than 80 rage. So your blood rage ability wants to be used on cooldown, but when you have less than 80 rage. Next one, execute. So remember, as you're making all of these, you're doing it yourself in these empty boxes, and then you're dragging them out and you're resizing them, okay? I'm just going straight into the abilities that I've already moved. Condition icon, set that. Look for your execute, pick that out for your icon, move into conditions, and again, you'll be able to copy and paste what I have here. So how I can describe execute is this. It doesn't scale off of AP or weapon damage. In fact, it scales off pretty much nothing other than the amount of rage that you have on your bar at the time of cast. In saying that, the only ability that's worth using for your execute is your Death Wish ability. Because the only damage boosts you can put on your execute are increased percent damage. If you think of a Dark Moon Fair 10% bonus damage, that does affect your execute. But AP doesn't, and neither does weapon damage. So when activated, your Death Wish increases your physical damage by 20%. That's increasing the damage of your execute, because it is physical damage, by 20%. Your Death Wish lasts 30 seconds, okay? So your execute phase is definitely not going to be 30 seconds. In some fights, maybe, but on average, it's less. So the game is basically to pop your Death Wish with what you think will be 30 seconds left in the fight, to make sure that you're using your Death Wish through the entirety of your execute phase, but no longer than that. So for example, if you popped it at 15 seconds left in the fight when you start executing and the boss dies and you've got another 10 or 12 seconds left on your Death Wish at the end, that's a big waste of damage there. So the aim of the game is for the boss to die or get to 0 health and your Death Wish to fall off of you at the same time. If you can do that, you've done your job. Now, into the execute itself, we've got it's usable. It does use a GCD, so we don't want to ignore it. Now, for me, personally, I like to save a bit of rage and get more damage on my executes. So I don't actually execute initially until I have 30 or higher rage. Now, I do this, but I only do it between the health percentages of 8, and 20 on the mob. So what this is basically saying is that between 20 and 8% health on that mob, I'm going to be using this set of conditions, and I'm only going to be executing with 30 rage or more. In the second set, it's talking about the last 6% of the health. So executes available. I'm basically spamming because I'm using only 10 or more rage. The unit is alive. It's a good one to have because then your execute sometimes will just pop up on your screen and the mob's dead, and it just takes real estate. We don't like that. And the health percent of the mob that you're targeting is equal to 7 or below. The whole point around this is that I'm kind of like saving raging, maximizing the damage on my executes until we start getting into the phase where I may miss an execute if I'm just waiting for rage. So from 6% to 0, it's basically just spamming execute. As soon as that button pops, you click it. You do not want any rage whatsoever on your character when the mob's health hits 0. Again, just to reiterate, make sure that you have your brackets in the right places here and that you have OR selected between them. Here and here as well. And then press OK when you're done. You can drag it out just like we did the first time, and you can make it nice and big. I like to have it big just because it pops nicely next to your character. Now, the other thing to note here is that because if you're pre-BIS, if you're ZG grinding, MC, even BWL, chances are you're not gonna have more than 2,000 attack power. But the day that you reach that 2,000 AP or more is when you're gonna start actually prioritizing your Bloodthirst over your execute in execute phase. Until then, it's as soon as you start seeing this button pop up, you forget about everything else. It's only executes for the last 20%. Unless you have more than 2,000 AP. The reasoning behind it again is that execute does not benefit from AP and your Bloodthirst does. So eventually your Bloodthirst takes over. Alright, so we've done these 4 abilities. Our last one, 5 abilities, we should be finished now, and you should have them placed correctly. Our last one is going to be our Heroic Strike. So empty box, open it up, condition icon. You can type in your Heroic Strike. I just chose the second last one there, but it doesn't matter, it's just an image. And then open up your conditions. Again, you can go ahead and pause the video as necessary to copy this. Alright, so the first set of conditions here in the brackets in this section is pretty simple. Heroic Strike, it doesn't use a global cooldown. It's a Q. So essentially what Heroic Strike is doing is it's turning your white hits, your auto attacks, your swings into ability damage, but it's still based on that auto attack. It's not used as an ability as your Bloodthirst or your whirlwind would be. So we don't have to ignore the global cooldown for that. It's available. Your rage is greater than or equal to 60. If a Fury Warrior, doesn't matter what spec you are, if you have 100 rage, you are wasting damage. You should never have 100 rage. So this is essentially the ability to dump that rage, and right now we're doing it when we have 60 or more. Now this spell queued Heroic Strike and Cleave, what this means is the icon is only going to appear and it's set to false, right? So this just means when Heroic Strike is not queued. So this icon right here will only appear when Cleave and Heroic Strike are not queued. When they are queued, it'll disappear. And in saying that, personally, I only use this icon for both abilities. So if you see down here on the bottom of my screen, I have Heroic Strike on 4 and I have Cleave on Shift 4. So all you're ever going to see is the Heroic Strike button pop. But if you use a Cleave, it'll take it off based on these conditions here. So it's going to be up to you. You're going to be in a fight with like say Luciferon. You got the 2 ads. In those moments, you'll have the heroic strike button pop when these conditions are met, but you're going to want to cleave instead, and that's going to wipe that button off. For myself, I have cleave on shift 4 because in my mind I'm thinking like, okay, addition, there's more here, it's bigger, let's do that instead type thing. But you can set up those abilities how you like. Just keep in mind that you will never see a cleave icon appear on your screen. It'll always just be the heroic strike. Obviously the unit is in combat, and then we'll move to the second set of conditions. Again, heroic strike's usable. Your rage is equal or greater than 12, which is the minimum amount used for in a heroic strike. And this is a really sneaky section to start throwing in heroic strikes, where a lot of players typically wouldn't for that extra damage. So what it's saying here is as long as your Bloodthirst is equal or higher, that the cooldown on your Bloodthirst is equal or higher than 4 seconds. It's only a 6-second cooldown, so you have a 2-second window to throw in a heroic strike. It's going to pop for that 2 seconds, and if you see it there, you go ahead and throw that little extra heroic strike in. And what that's doing, especially if you're world buffed, is it's giving your Bloodthirst a full 4 seconds after you've just like quickly dumped again to 0 to generate that 30 rage, so that you're still not interrupting that Bloodthirst cycle. Again, you're just looking at the spell queued. As soon as you queue the heroic strike, that icon will disappear, and you didn't in combat. So a really sneaky way here to throw in extra heroic strikes. It's going to be more threat, so be careful with it. But it'll be significantly more damage in your rotation. If you can sneak these in, you're world buffed, you're generating lots of rage, and you're not interrupting. This condition here is the most important one on the page. Making sure that you're not interrupting your Bloodthirst cycle. Again, just make sure all the brackets are in the right places and you've clicked OR between these 2 groups. When you're done, you can click OK. And place it as you wish. So that's all of the conditions that I use. I'm gonna put I'm gonna sneak this in here now, so we'll bring this counter down, and I kind of like to have it right in the middle. What this counter does is it actually keeps track of all of the damage going out onto the target, and it estimates how much longer the fight's going to take. So as a warrior, it's massively important to know, if you're able to, when the fight's finishing, so that you can use your cooldowns appropriately. So when you're finished, you can just type TMW/TMW, and it'll take all of that off your screen. And the only thing that should be left up is your blood rage, because you have less than 80 rage right now, and it's available to be used. So let's use it. I used it. It takes it off my screen. Now, because I have enough rage and I don't have a battle shout applied, my battle shout pops, so I'll use that too. Now I have enough rage still because of my blood rage to intercept, or I did for a moment. Let's get into the fight here. There we go, is my Bloodthirst. There's a quick heroic strike and an execute. And all I did was, it's a bit of a whack-a-mole mentality, right? I'm not looking at cooldowns anymore. I'm just looking for when my little charge, Bloodthirst, stance, heroic strike quickly. Bit of a lull here, and we should be hitting a heroic. There's your execute. Again, quick heroic strike after the. Here's your whirlwind. Didn't quite have enough rage that first time. And there's your execute. So again, it's just watching for icons to appear. There's my blood rage on cooldown. Use that. Quick Bloodthirst, heroic strike. Another Bloodthirst, heroic strike, and I mean, these mobs don't have a lot of health, so you're not going to see a hell of a lot of executes in here, but on a boss, it'll make much more sense. Intercept. This is a weak aura I have to show me when I have Crusader procs. Whirlwind popped up. Execute. So as you're, hopefully as you're noticing, you're just watching now the middle of my screen, where typically if you didn't have this going on, you'd be most likely staring at your hotbar waiting for cooldowns. And having your eyes drop really takes advantage away from you to be able to see what's going on around you, to be able to position yourself and use your camera. This, you're probably wondering where to get this timer add-on. I'm gonna make another video for that. Keep you guys on your toes. So have a wonderful day. I hope this Tell Me When script helped out, and we'll catch you guys another time.